Well, medieval times in Scottsdale is getting into the Halloween spirit with a look inside its tortured past.
You can check out just how painful one's punishment was during a tour of the Museum of Torture. Tess is going back in time this morning.
I have the heebie-jeebies after looking at some of these things, guys. Man, they were cruel back in the day. So we are here at Medieval Times, and soon it will be bustling later on tonight, of course, with people here. But one of the cool things you can do in the pre-show is come to the Museum of Torture, the dungeon. So come on in and take a look at what you can find here. Perfect as we talk about Halloween and the scary things. Here's one of the nice things. Lord Marshal joining us right now. Thank you for having us in your dungeon.
It is our pleasure. Welcome to our torture chamber, my lady, and happy Halloween to you.
Okay, I'm looking at these things, the replicas of what they really did use back in the day. Talk about some of them and how scary they are.
Well, they're actually quite terrifying because they were used quite frequently and in public in most instances, not only to end people's lives and deter criminals, but also just to hurt people who had broken social contracts, like not going to church or cursing in public. Many of these things were used commonly and on common people.
Okay, talk about what is this thing we're seeing here, because it doesn't look good with that big, like, hammer.
This is the falbret. This was the precursor of the guillotine. Obviously, it's made of wood and not metal, but they would place your head underneath it, and they would use the huge wooden mallet to bash your head off of your body with a wooden plank. Very painful. Took a long time to kill you.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to think about this thing. This is too hard to even just look at. They drop you on this thing, I imagine.
Indeed, they would tie your hands behind your back and pull you up in the air, dislocating and eventually removing your arms from their sockets.
Oh, you know, when we look at these things, it's hard to imagine that these things were a real deal because so many of them, they look like props. But to look at this and to think back in time when these were used, why were things so cruel?
Well, mostly it was because of the church. In the old days, they would do what were they called, crusades, and they used implements of torture to convert people, which was a very barbaric practice in the old days. So thankfully, we've come a long way since then.
Okay, public executions we know were huge. What is this contraption right here?
This is the coffin. They would actually put you in that while you were still alive and hoist you above a wall, probably outside of a castle, and allow the birds to peck your eyes out until you died from starvation.
It's giving me chills just thinking about this. All right, and this was one of the worst things that I saw, this big chair over here to the left. The way they would interrogate people.
Indeed. During the Spanish Inquisition, they would put people in these and strap them down, lock them in, and then talk to them and try to get them to convert. And whenever they would not convert, they would press down on their arms and legs, forcing the spikes into their body until they either confessed or died from the pain.
Don't worry, none of these things are used when you're here to see Medieval Times and a real joust and a real dinner. Lord Marshal, what do we see you doing in there?
I am actually the master of ceremonies of the tournament. I'm also in charge of the jousting because I'm the general of the Queen's armies. I'm sort of the narrator of the story, and I lead you through your journey into the 11th century from the time you enter to the time you leave.
Well, we can't wait to see you again. Medieval Times is where you can find the torture, Museum of Torture. And like I said, Javi, you better shape up or we're putting you in the rack. Look at this thing. Amazing that these things were really used. But for now, again, at
Whoa.
Times, are you ready to, am I holding this thing the right way? You're ready to, Joyce, what do they call it? Joust?
Let's joust.
Joust. Des.
You deserve the rack for that comment.
Hey, the good
Put her on
news
the
is
rack.
the rack might make you taller.
That's what I was thinking.
So I'm open to it also.
See if they take reservations.
No, there's no hope for Javi. Oh, but we do. Can I show you one thing real quickly?
Yes.
Can I show you one thing real quickly? We showed you the big interrogation chair. Don't worry, there's a pint-sized one just for Javi, too. See?
Cozy.
You're all good. You better be good.
Are those nails?
Yeah.
They're like nails.
Thanks, Tess.
Yes. Yes. And they would press your arms or press your back. Ugh,
Maybe like
you know,
acupuncture.
I bruised too
like
easily for that to have survived
good,
medieval
yeah.
times. Tess, thank you.